Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We have another very exciting video coming to you today. We are joined by Georgia.
Hi.
Say hi. So I started working with Georgia around 7 months ago now, which is pretty crazy. I remember meeting Georgia for the first time. We jumped on Zoom and I was so excited because I just remember thinking, this girl just has it. Like I just knew that she would be so successful. Like she knew what she wanted, she knew what she was capable of, and it was really just about taking action with that. And it reminded me so much of myself when I got into this space. Like no one could stop me. I was ready to just give it my 100%, which I absolutely love. At the time when I met Georgia, she graduated with a first class law degree, which is insane. And she was working part time in a gym. And her main focus was to be able to quit that and go full time working for herself, which she has very much achieved since that time. Georgia has not only gone on to achieve a record month of over 7K in commissions, she's also running her own business and she's achieving amazing things with that. I just know this call will serve as so much inspiration for so many different women who did what they were supposed to do, who went on to get good grades, go to uni, but it just never sat right with them. For the women who know that they're capable of so much more, but perhaps just need a little nudge to show you what's actually possible. And I know this call will definitely do that today. So let's dive in and get into it. I'd love for you, Georgia, to take us back to, I guess, what you were doing before sales, like your background. Obviously, you thought you were going to go into law full time. So if you could share kind of, yeah, your backstory.
Hello, hello. If you are watching this, then that means you are the first to know about the exciting announcement here at the Female Sales Accelerator. For the first time ever, the Female Sales Accelerator are opening up their doors and hosting a free masterclass. This is huge as we've always been super private about our training, our resources, and what we do inside the program to achieve such phenomenal results. But that's no more. We are sharing with you exactly the 4-step dream offer formula that helps women hit consistent 10K plus months in high ticket sales the feminine way with zero sales experience. So, if you are interested to learn how you can actually step into the woman you want to be in 2026 and learn the new way of high ticket sales, stay tuned. We'll be launching our registration link this Sunday and you will get to sign up and attend. And the masterclass will be hosted on Sunday, the 14th of December. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot of information about it coming soon. And if you want to follow my Instagram, Shelly_remote sales, you can also see more about it over there as well. And if you've got any questions, as always, you can DM me personally and I'll get back to you answering them. Enjoy.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just so important what you said there about that whole concept around women just doing what they thought they were meant to do. And I know from a young age, I just had this vision in my life of I want to do something that's like really, really good, really exciting, and is very successful. And for so many people, they're just pointed in the direction of, go to high school, get good grades, get into university, and you'll be sorted for the rest of your life. And for me, I fully just thought that becoming a lawyer meant that I could have this successful lifestyle and that it would allow me to live a lifestyle I wanted to have later on. And the more I started to do it, I was spending all my time throughout uni just watching people going into these corporate law firms afterwards and just realizing that like they were giving their life away. And the closer and closer I got towards the end of my degree, I was just feeling like my freedom was being pulled further and further and further away from me. And don't get me wrong, I loved it. I love law. I find it very interesting. I loved the degree, but it was the thought of working so incredibly hard for somebody else's gain for so long that just made me put a complete stop in where I was going towards the end of uni and really like had to take a moment to sit and think with myself that if I put myself on this path, you can end up stuck here. And I think that's what so many people do is they go on that path because they think that's what they're meant to do. You've got the degree, you've got the grades,
And then before you know it, 5, 10 years have gone down the line, and you're like, where has my life gone? Where's all my time gone? And for me, that was just the biggest fear. So I had to do something pretty scary and decide to like stop my plan and figure out the rest from there. And thankfully, that's when I came across you and I came across sales. So yeah.
Yeah, that's insane and such a huge thing to do, right? Because for me, I didn't go to uni, so I was jumping from job to job. I didn't really have anything to lose, let's say,
Yeah.
right? There was no risk almost apart from the financial risk of, me paying for a mentorship. But you literally had a whole career
Yeah.
that people dream of, that, people would absolutely love to achieve, and you gave it up. So what was the catalyst for you making such that like a big decision like that?
Yeah, I think at the time, because I just knew that it wasn't what I wanted, it didn't seem like as big a decision as it would be to other people. But then the more I started to speak about it to other people, and it was always so funny because it would come up in conversation like, sorry, you've just done 5 years of law school and you don't want to be a lawyer anymore. And it was actually at that point I realized like, oh, for some people this wouldn't be as easy a decision to make. But I do think from a very young age, I've always been very stubborn and very headstrong. So when I decide I'm not doing something, it's just not happening. But it definitely was quite scary because I did have to sit and think to myself, like, I'm taking away the stability and I'm taking away the path that I really thought I was going to go down without actually instantly replacing it with something else. So like this was a decision I'd made before I'd even come across the high ticket sales industry. So like I fully had made that decision with no idea of where I was going with it. And I do firmly believe that when you decide to follow what you think is right for you, then everything else will fall into place. And thankfully it has.
Yeah, 100%. So for yourself, how did you discover the high ticket sales industry?
Honestly, I can't fully remember now, if I'm being honest. I really think it was just something that popped up on social media. And then
Mhm.
as soon as I'd heard about it, I was like, okay, what is this? I'm gonna admit fully, I was one of those people that was always on YouTube, like Googling how to become a millionaire, how to make money online. Like that's what my search history was. And then all of a sudden I stumbled across high ticket sales and stumbled across your page. And honestly, like a crazy person, I think I binged watched your entire YouTube channel probably in the space of about 2 days. And at that point, I just realized that, okay, this is real. This is like a real career for someone to go into. And that was it. I'd completely made my mind up on what I was doing.
I love that. I remember we were joking about it the other day when you reached out to me. You sent me like five 3-minute long voice notes back to back. You were just so ready. Like you just
Yeah,
knew what you wanted. It was amazing. Like I loved it.
yeah,
Do you think
100%.
you had any limiting beliefs around getting into sales and even investing in mentorship?
I think that it would be ignorant for anyone to ever say that they've never had any limiting beliefs because we're all human. But I think for me, I was at a point in my life where I realized that like any form of limiting belief that could come up for me, I could either decide to believe it or I could decide like, no, I've got to push past that because everybody's scared of failure. Everybody's scared to do something and invest their time into something where they're not going to get a reward back for it. But at that point, I realized like I was the only person that could make the decision as to whether it was going to work for me or not. And don't get me wrong, I'd never invested in myself like that before either. So it was definitely like a big step. And, it is scary when you come onto a call with a complete stranger and you're like, am I actually just about to do this right now? But I also realized that, it was fully up to me and I was so dedicated and committed to putting the work in. And when other people have gone before you and they've achieved the results that you want to achieve, like you're not trying to like achieve the impossible. And I think that's the one thing I always stick by. Like there's people out there in the world who have achieved like the complete impossible. So if you're going to do something that somebody's already done before, you just need to put the work in to get there.
100%. And I think that's so important to touch on because it's so true. Like it is only down to you. And the
Yeah.
amount of times I receive DMs from women, and I know you've spoken to different women as well who always say, "What's the guarantee? What's the guarantee? Like, what are you going to guarantee for me?" And yeah, there are certain kind of small guarantees you can put in place for security, but no one can ever guarantee a result except yourself to an extent. You know, not like, well, nothing in life is guaranteed, but only you are in control of that future. And I think my most successful clients, like every single woman who's on these case studies, all say the same. Like they knew that they had to take 100% ownership and accountability, which, let's be honest, most people in this day and age don't. They want to blame everyone else. So, do you think you've always had that mindset of like it's only on you, or where do you think that's come from?
I think that it's definitely like the drive and the ambition and the stubbornness behind doing what I want to do has always been there. But honestly, like the more I think about it as I grew up, I was always someone to shift blame onto someone else, which is now really interesting because of what my personality is like now. But I did like anything that used to go wrong in my life when I was younger, or like my mum would always say, like, oh, it's never Georgia's fault. Because I used to always try and blame and pass that over to like something else or an external factor. And I think the switch for me was just realizing coming into something like this that if there are other people that have gone before you and have achieved the results, then it fully is just down to you to not achieve that. And I think that uni really made me have that switch because, I got to that point where it was like, for me to get the degree classification that I wanted to get, nobody else could do that for me. And it wasn't going to be an external factor as to why I didn't achieve it. It was purely just down to my own work and my hard work. So I think that really conditioned me into that thought process, which made coming into this industry with that kind of idea behind it like a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. I was actually thinking a lot the other day about like transferable skills because a lot of women think they need sales experience to get into the high ticket sales space, but actually there are so many other transferable skills, beliefs, etc. that you can bring in and see success. And I think that is huge. Like I'm sure there's so many people watching who have been to uni and just don't know what else to do and think they've got no
Yeah.
quote unquote skills for sales, but that in itself is huge. Like I guess the grit and determination that you had to use in your degree to transfer it to see success, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that that's probably something that for a lot of people that go to uni, they don't give themselves enough credit for because they just
Yeah.
think, okay, like I've got into uni and obviously I had assignments to complete and I had exams to sit. But I think what people don't realize is that there is a large proportion of people who go to uni and don't actually complete those things. So it really does then come down to the person. So if you are someone, no matter what your degree is, like you have still had to put the work in of your own back and your own shoulders. And really, if you can just apply that level of work ethic and confidence, like that is the recipe to seeing success in anything else you do.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I guess when it comes to mentorship then, so you said you never really invested in mentorship before you came to me. So what made you reach out and get that support? Why not just do it on your own?
I think it was just the relatability to your journey, and seeing like from where you had come from and where you were now, it still very much felt really real and raw. Like it wasn't like you were 20 years down the line and we're talking about success that you had got 20 years ago. Like this was very much still something that, you were working through. It was like a couple of years since you'd gotten into the space. So I think that for me just really made me realize that we've said this so many times that you can be on YouTube University for the rest of your life if you want to. And I think at that point, I just realized that I had to join hands with somebody who was going to be able to show me how to get from A to B and allow me to do it in a much like faster and quicker route.
Yeah, 100%. So we jumped on a call, you joined the program. How did that feel? How did it feel coming in and making that decision and then sitting with it once you'd done it?
Yeah, so this was actually something I thought about the other day. Just obviously now, when you come into this space, you're speaking to people on a regular basis who are met with that same thing of maybe the first time they've invested in themselves or they're making a decision to ultimately change their life, right? And it was honestly crazy. I got off of the call with you and genuinely felt this like overwhelming emotion of just pure relief. It was like
Mm.
scary, but like relief because I really felt like I had made that decision to ultimately take full responsibility for what my life was going to look like. And I remember ending the call with you and I was just like, okay, I've done it. Like I've done the scary step and there's going to be lots more to come after this, but that really is that first initial point where you're taking full responsibility and you can be like, I've done this for me and I'm going to see what's going to come from it.
100%. Because I think we speak to women all the time, don't we,
Yeah.
who are petrified to make
Yeah.
that step, just as I was, just as you were. But it's always like we have that encouragement, like, trust me, once you've done that first step, then don't get me wrong, it doesn't get easier, but it's just different. It's just different, isn't it? Like it just feels, it's really empowering, I think, for a woman to like step up and fully take control and not rely on anyone else and just do it and everything's on them. I think it's incredible to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
Absolutely. I just think it allows you to take so much confidence in yourself. Because I think in today's society and the way, especially within the UK, like you're very conditioned to the work life, well, you essentially live to work rather than work to live. And I think that it really allows you to sit yourself back in your own power of actually remembering like this is your life. Like you get to make the decisions and you are the only person that can make those decisions. So by doing something like that, you're fully taking back ownership and control of where you see yourself going. And I just think there is nothing more powerful than that.
100%. I absolutely love that. And I think that's why we see such a surge in confidence from like the women who joined day one to like 6 to 8 weeks later, they're a completely different person. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel like you're a completely different person
Yeah.
from yourself 7 months ago. It's like you've reinvented yourself
Yeah.
almost because of the confidence and conviction that you've now built.
Yeah, 100%. I think that before coming into sales, I had definitely started to go on like a journey in terms of my own personal development just throughout periods and stuff that happened in my life. But coming into sales over the last like few like 7 months now has just completely accelerated any form of growth and confidence that I would have started to build essentially. And I think that it really is communication. Like everything in the world revolves around communication. And for me beforehand, I had the confidence. Some people would have said, like, you were quite a confident person, but I didn't have the ability to really confidently communicate. And I think that that's what sales gives you is when you can confidently communicate and have those conversations with people. Like it really does just instill in yourself, a lot more confidence and the ability to show up as the woman that you really want to be, which is just so important.
Totally, 100%. And I'd love on that note for you to share, like, how do you feel, myself and the Female Sales Accelerator as a whole has supported you on your journey?
Oh, honestly, so much support. Like, I think I have said this to you so many times, Shelley, and I say it to so many of the women coming into the program. Like, I would have dread to think what this journey would have been like had I not come into the Female Sales Accelerator, because now just being exposed to different areas and opportunities in the world and in the industry, it really just has made me feel so safe and so secure having the women within the program and just the support that you give these women is absolutely phenomenal. Like you really can just see the fact that like you have so much belief and compassion to want to help other people succeed. And I think that was ultimately why when I came across your videos that I was like, I just relate with you so much. Like we spoke and I very much seen a lot of myself in you as well with that drive and that like commitment. And yeah, being a part of the program just made me feel so safe and so secure that I was on the right path.
I love that. And I'm really glad you feel that way. And I think there's so much power, isn't there, to having like a community of like-minded women
Oh
all
yeah.
supporting each other. I think it's rare, but when you find it, it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And it really is, it is difficult because I think for women in particular, I really noticed this throughout university that, I was a very competitive like degree that I was in. There's not a lot of people that go on to do these really high paying jobs afterwards and working with really good firms. And it really made me see, that there's a lot of people that you thought would have maybe had your back or would have wanted the best for you and they don't. Like there is a lot of toxicity around it. And it's because in that type of working world, specifically as a female, you're pretty much taught to pent against each other. So coming into an environment like this where you genuinely can feel that love and support and guidance from other people really wanting to see you succeed, it's just going to continue to like excel you on your journey.
100%. So what does it take for you? Like a day in the life, as a high ticket closer, what is it like?
From like start to finish in terms of what I do when I wake up in the morning to when I go to bed.
Ah, go for it. Tell us.
So I'm absolutely massive on like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So this is really something that I came into sales with that mindset of like if I'm going to move into this, I'm also going to up level every other aspect of my life because if you want to be successful in one thing, you need to be successful in the other things that you do. So I'm very regimented on like my daily routine and my morning routine is set out like I meditate, I journal, like very much read that. If I can't do that in the morning, then it's not setting me up for the rest of the day. But what I really love now is the flexibility and the freedom. Like I get to decide in the morning what I want my mornings to look like. I get to walk to the gym when people are walking to work. And I think that that is something that, we sometimes take for granted if you've been in this space for a while, where coming home and being able to make a full breakfast from scratch at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning isn't a normal thing. And that is something that I treasure so much now. So having that time and that ability to do what I want to do in the morning to really set myself up for the day is just amazing. And then it would literally just be a case of, sat down on calls for however long I've got my calendar open for that day. And then in the evening, I can just pack up, shut my laptop, whether I'm at home or working from somewhere else, and spend the time like winding down and doing what I want to do for the rest of the day. And normally that's obviously working on my other business as well. But it's that freedom and flexibility. I've got friends over today, just being able to take time out your calendar this afternoon to go away and go for lunch and do something, not necessarily having to ask a boss for that time off like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, which is something you obviously don't get working in the normal world.
Yeah, 100%. And I know a lot of women, like especially the ladies that come to the Female Sales Accelerator, they're logical, right? They're realistic. So they see the lifestyle and they know it's achievable, but they also want to know what are like, I guess, some things that people don't talk about, maybe the downsides. Is there anything that you would share from your journey and your perspective that maybe you didn't expect coming into the industry or that you found hard or challenging?
Yeah, 100%. Like anything, there's going to be challenges to something that's new. And I think a lot of people sometimes they go into something and then, the start in the first few months, it doesn't feel as glamorous or as exciting as they thought it was going to be. And they're like, maybe this isn't for me. But you've got to give yourself time. But I would definitely say that one thing I didn't really prepare for was the fact that it's not like a clock in and clock out job. This is something that you're using to begin with. Like you're learning a lot of new skills and a lot of new ways to communicate, to speak with other people. And it's really about understanding that human psychology of things as well. And that's not something that you switch off from when you immediately decide to shut your laptop off in the evening. Like you've got to do that continued work. So I think for me, it was really realizing that even if I was only taking a certain amount of calls per day, I was very mentally taxed from it in the beginning because it is a lot to really learn. It's a new thing, it's a new system, and because you're wanting to get better at it, your brain naturally goes into that overthinking mode of like, okay, so now I've finished, how can I improve on this and how can I do that? And I think that for a lot of people, that's the point where you might reach a little bit of that overwhelm to begin with. And for some, it's when their body pulls them back into that like natural comfort zone. So you come back away from it and you maybe don't push, but it's really at that point when you push through that discomfort to begin with, you literally can see what you can achieve on the other side of it. And then you get to have a day like I do now, where I wake up and I have that little bit more freedom and flexibility because, I've dialed the skills in and the processes and the systems and I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah, 100%. Because you really did start from the bottom up, right,
Yeah.
with this. As all the girls do it. You don't just come in and become this, amazing high ticket closer
Yeah.
overnight. Like you started as an appointment setter. You started doing the dials. I remember on an offer you were on, you were like dialing hundreds of leads and no one was answering. Like you did the graph, didn't you? And then slowly worked your way up into a position where you are now a top performer and you are really good at what you do. So, did you expect that, or were you kind of sold a dream in the marketing side of things as well?
No, I think that that's where I related to your content a lot because you don't sell a dream because it isn't, a get rich quick scheme or like this is a career change for a lot of people. Like you're coming in here to lay the foundations and to build the skills up to give yourself, a career that pays you a lot better than a normal career because of that. And I think that to begin with, I definitely didn't probably expect how much mentally it would start to take out of me. I think that I really underestimated that part of it. I thought if I learn the skills and just put in the hours, but it's actually what you do on the outside of those hours, I think that matters the most. And you definitely will fall into a little bit within this industry when you first get in that you'll maybe start to drop the ball on other areas of your life because you do start to pay a lot more attention to this. And I think that you've got to work through that discomfort to really find out what's on the other side of it. But yeah, it's definitely been a journey for sure, but in the most like satisfying and empowering way, like we were speaking about before, like this is why it changes you as a person because you show yourself that you can do things you never thought you could do.
100%. So let's talk about balancing your business with sales. So, obviously, you have your network marketing business, you're also a closer. So, I know a lot of women actually, we have quite a few women in the program who balance a business or another career that they actually love and sales. So, tell us about how you manage that. Has sales had a positive impact in your business? And yeah, I'm sure like the girls would be super curious, like what else you do alongside this.
Yeah, 100%. So I think when I first kind of transitioned into remote sales back in April, I had been building my business up kind of slowly on the side. It was just something that, it takes a lot of time to build these things up. And it got to the point when I really realized, the hours and the commitment I was going to be putting into this industry to begin with, that it was fully up to me to just get really strategic on what I was doing with my time. So that kind of, it was another thing I had to adjust to begin with. But I think when you know what you want, it really is one of those things, as everyone's talking about it these days, like when you realize no one's coming to save you, you pick yourself up and you go. So I think from that aspect, it was just getting really good at strategically finding the time to focus on certain areas and really balancing it in with the sales aspect. But I personally do believe that balance is not something that you should be aiming to achieve for in your 20s because I think there's a lot of misconstrued information out there that, you should want to achieve this balance and this like happy lifestyle with things and feel really on par with it all. But your 20s are meant to be that point in your life where you're not going to feel balanced, right? You're young, you've got the ability to maybe do things that you wouldn't be able to do when you're a little bit older. And I think that for me made me really realize like now is the time where I get to dial this in and I get to work a little bit like a crazy person and really set myself up for the future. And even just doing that for those first few months coming into this industry has now led me to even now be living like a life that I feel so much better and so much balanced in because of that kind of hard work. So that really did allow me to see that it is purely just about time management. And, if I block out my day to the T, like every half an hour is blocked out on a day where I'm busy. And it just allows me to really see where I could be wasting my time or where I'm potentially doing things that I don't need to be focusing on and just getting good at prioritizing. But again, moving into sales drastically helped my business because sales is in everything, like everything. And I think that is one of those things that it annoys me so much now to think back to school when I think about what we were learning. And I'm just like, why is nobody in there teaching you about sales? Because sales is in absolutely everything. Like you need it to essentially survive. Like if you're telling somebody, that you've got over at your house or something and you're watching a movie and you're trying to pitch them one movie and they're trying to pitch you another, like that's sales. And we just don't realize this. It's in absolutely everything. So being able to come in and fully understand from you like the mindset, the psychology, how to really set yourself up well, the communication skills, literally just continue to accelerate everything else in my business as well, which has just been amazing.
100% amen to that. I feel like sales, like I had no idea coming to this space, like how much sales would change my life and
Yeah.
like how I communicate with people, like maybe when I'm in a coffee shop or in a restaurant or
Yeah.
to get like a certain upgrade or something. Honestly, you use sales. You use the gift that you have been taught, to be able to master the art of persuasion or, have things move in your favor. Like that is what sales is. So I completely agree with that. I think if anyone's sitting here thinking like, oh, but I want to do this, I want to do that, like I don't know if sales is beneficial. Like even if you don't want to become a closer,
Yeah,
just to like learn the communication skills to help sell maybe your clients in your business or your colleagues around you if you want the pay rise or if you want the
yeah,
promotion. You need to
100%.
learn
Oh,
sales, right?
I had a light, it's just gone out on me there, but it's fine. Um, yeah, 100%. It is one of those things like you fully don't even realize, like, because we do find people these days that they don't want to come into this industry because they're like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. Sales isn't for
Mhm.
me. I'm not salesy. And I'm like, you are selling every single day from the moment you wake up till the moment that you go to bed, whether it's about you, something you enjoy, or you're speaking with your friends, your family, whatever it is. So, like you've just said, when you can really understand that art of communication and how to really go about conducting yourself in essentially a sales process, like you really do unlock some of the most like transferable skills into anything else that you do.
100%. I love that. So, how has life changed for you, do you think, Georgia?
Oh my goodness, that is a crazy question. I think that me and you have spoken about this before as well, where we sometimes forget to reflect. And I think it's so important because, when you are a really high achiever and you're super ambitious, you are constantly just moving forward for that next thing. But I have been doing a lot of reflection recently and realizing, back in April when I first started coming into this industry, I was living out of my overdraft still, like trying to get towards the end of my uni degree, realizing I was going to then have to pay that off. I had a horse at the time, so I was like trying to balance all of that. And I was like, how am I even paying for this? And there was just this constant pressure and stress. And I was working these part-time jobs and then picking up ad hoc hours, doing other things like bartending. I was going away and working like 17, 18-hour shifts sometimes over the weekends at like weddings and just trying to find enough to kind of like move forward with things. And that was obviously back in April. And now I'm living in a completely different city. Like I've moved from Aberdeen to Manchester. I'm living in my dream flat. Like it's just crazy to think the difference. And not only is obviously everything from high ticket sales, but it's just my business in general has now started to accelerate because of that too. And I just have become a completely different person. It really is absolutely crazy to think about it. And it's one of those things that you do have to sit deep and realize, it's the little things like that. Like I've said before, I don't have that stress of, having to be somewhere at a certain time or running around crazy wondering where the next pout of money is coming from or if I can pick up an ad hoc shift here or there. And that really is what makes the biggest difference now, I think.
That is huge. And I know so many women watching this will be able to relate to that. I know I did. Like back in the day, I'd even stress like I'm now going to go to the supermarket. Like, do I have to think twice about what I'm even going to buy here? Because I was living completely paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, it's pretty insane. And that's what I love about filming these because it allows you to sit and reflect. Like everyone says that because they before they come onto these, you like sit and reflect. And you'll probably watch this back in November 2026 and you'll be like, whoa, look at me here compared to now. And it's pretty insane. It's incredible. Like I know I probably don't say it enough, but I'm so proud of you because I know how much things have changed. Like it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And I think that we do sometimes get too caught up in we're not maybe where we like see ourselves like a few months down the line from now. So you are working towards those goals, but it really is about understanding that, who you are changing and who you're becoming as a person is the biggest thing out of all of it. And I think that that is now my main focus is that if I can just continue to focus on myself, my skill set, how confident I feel doing something within my business or within the sales space, then everything else you want to achieve after that will follow because it really does just start with becoming the type of person that you really want to be.
100%. What are your goals from here, do you think? What are your goals over the next, I guess, year?
Next year. So I definitely want to continue obviously pushing up with regards. I think right now for me it's really dialing in the skill side of things. Like I remember I had a sales manager ask me this when I came on to close for them in the last offer that I was working for. And he was like, well, what are your goals? And I was like, I'm not necessarily focused on like the income goal, but I'm focused on like, my closing percentage, like things that I can really take to my skill set and know that if I've got that in the bag, then everything else, like I've just said, will follow into place. So I think for me, it's like I really want to be able to say, like, I am so confident in my ability of how to conduct myself within this industry and to really have the credentials and the KPIs and everything to back that up with. So I think for me, it's just really striving forward with pushing on that and being like, yeah, every single month I can see that I'm improving bit by bit. And then ultimately with my own business, I really do want to reach the top of my company within the next year. So that's really exciting. And a lot of that means coaching and mentoring other women specifically, which is something I've really found that I absolutely love to do. So I'm tapping into that. And I just really do want to become one of those people who has the ability to, much like yourself, to coach and mentor someone to really be able to change their life. So yeah.
Wow, I love it. 100%. And you will be there. We say this all the time, right? It's not if, it's just when. Just time has to catch up, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Which is so exciting.
And I guess to finish things off, finish things off this has been an incredible conversation. Like for women watching this, women will be watching this from all over the world, right? Maybe they're sitting on the fence. They don't know if they shouldn't take that leap and better themselves and start their sales journey. What would you say to them?
My number one thing that I just tie it back to all the time is like you really do only get one life. And
Mm.
as morbid sometimes as it can be to say, like you are put, I firmly believe like you are put on this planet, this earth, whatever you want to call it, for a reason. And like it's up to you to find out that reason. It's not up to somebody else to find it out for you. It's up to you to ask yourself the questions of like, what do I want my life to look like? Like what types of things do I enjoy to do? What's the type of lifestyle I would like to have for myself? Like when I see a person, what is it I like about them? Like who are they as that type of person? And then it's really just realizing, like we said, this whole conversation, it's then up to you. It's up to you to decide I'm going to take different action steps to become that person or to achieve that lifestyle. And anytime a little bit of fear, doubt, like creeps in, because it will do. And I think that's the number one thing to remember is you're not going to all of a sudden wake up one day and never be faced with these thoughts again. Every successful person still battles with their own mind and their own fears and their own limiting beliefs. But reminding yourself, like, I only get one shot. What the heck have I got to lose? That really just puts me back in my situation of being like, okay, it's up to me. Like, take the risks, do the scary things, because who wants to get to 80 and turns round and is like, why did I not do that? Or imagine if I had done this, or like, what if I had done that? Like, it's the biggest fear I have for myself. Like, I want to be sat on my rocking chair at like 80 or 90 years old, chatting away to my friends and my family and telling them, like, I done everything I could to live the life that I wanted to live. And I think that when you can move forward with that, we've said it before, everything else will fall into place.
Wow. Very inspiring. I absolutely love it. Georgia, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know so many women will be so inspired to follow in your footsteps. You are such an inspiration, probably more than you even realize, to so many women, not only in the UK, but around the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and if you're inspired by Georgia, there'll be a link in my bio. You can book a call to apply to work with us. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.